Hello, friends. Welcome into Minnesota Vikings Now. I am Tom Downey here with the latest on the Vikings as they enter what is a meaningless football game against the Chicago Bears. Despite that, their starting quarterback will be back in this one. The announcements from Minnesota are the following. Mike Zimmer says Kirk Cousins will start in Week 18 and says the starters will play if they are able to. Now, we'll see if they play the whole time or if they sit some people, but I do expect Kirk Cousins to play pretty much all of this game. He has been activated from the COVID-19 list after he missed a pivotal game against the Green Bay Packers that they probably still would have lost, but it wouldn't have been as big of an embarrassment, I think, had Cousins been out there. He will start on Sunday. The Vikings went with Sean Mannion in that game, and it was a disaster. And Mike Zimmer was very blunt and in a kind of shocking fashion made it clear he doesn't want to see Kellen Mond after. The Vikings don't want to play Kellen Mond. Now, they would probably spin it as, this is our plan, young quarterback, got to give him time. I would rather cut through what I consider to be some of the BS in there and say, you know what? The Vikings simply don't think Mond is ready. Because we all watched Sean Mannion against the Green Bay Packers, and it was bad. It could have been worse, but it was bad. It was not good play by Mannion, and the timing was, to be clear, absolutely horrifically brutal. The Vikings were in a win-or-be-out game in prime time. And although Kirk Cousins has not been good in prime time this season, they would have unquestionably had a better chance if their unvaccinated quarterback was able to be out there. He was not, had no chance of playing, would have been a long shot had he been vaccinated with the timing of the positive test anyway. That was a pretty big deal, though, for Minnesota to not have Kirk Cousins, and I think Mike Zimmer at some level kind of resigned to his fate and was not happy to be out several key players for that game. I think I speak for pretty much everybody here. If you're tired of the COVID impacting football, type me in the comment section. I know I certainly am, so head down there, spam your me's for me right now. Some other Vikings being activated now from the COVID-19 list. Again, some kind of significant players, right? Eric Kendricks, Brian O'Neill, Ezra Cleveland, Christian Darrisaw. Those are several key starters, especially along that offensive line. Oh, well, the guy that I'm very intrigued by long-term, Cam Bynum, also activated. So, nice to get those guys back. Some young players on that list, namely Darrisaw, Bynum, Cleveland. You're really going to want to get, and I think, some reps against the Bears in Week 18. The season is over for Minnesota. They've got nothing left to play for at this point. But help us get to 2,000 subscribers so we can continue to do more videos for you guys all off season long. Season's over. We're not going anywhere. Get us to 2K subscribers by hitting that sub button for free right now. Let's hit one of the interesting ideas out there right now around Minnesota. That's on Jim Harbaugh. Could he make the jump to the NFL? There are rumors, reports, and speculations circulating right now, and including some by Colin Cowherd and Bruce Feldman of The Athletic, amongst others, that Jim Harbaugh could make a return to the NFL. Now, I'll make this point. This has been said every year since he went to Michigan. Oh, could this be the year Harbaugh makes the jump to the NFL? I think for the Minnesota perspective here, we'll start with this. Mike Zimmer's checked out, and I don't blame him. I think he's tired. It's been a long run for Minnesota with Zimmer. I think he's coaching. I think he knows he's coaching his last game in Minnesota. Harbaugh, I think, might make more sense for a team like the Bears or the Raiders, given those ties to the organization. I'm also not sold yet on Jim Harbaugh making the jump to the NFL. Now, Bruce Feldman does not ever really report a bunch of BS, but I will say this. If Jim Harbaugh is actually available and wants to make a return to the NFL, if I ran an organization, I think you got to have interest. Now, that is a sharp change from what I said just last year when Harbaugh was at his lowest point ever as a head coach. Now he made a massive quick turnaround, made it to the college football playoff, finally beat Ohio State. Everywhere Harbaugh's gone, he's had success. This is one of the best and one of the only coaches to show he can do it in both the NFL and at the college level. I don't know if Harbaugh in Minnesota is quite the right fit, but I think it would kind of be some organizational mismanagement to not at least pick up the phone and say, hey, Jim, do you have interest or not? So what do you guys think? Should the Vikings try to get Jim Harbaugh? Type in Y for yes, they should, or type in N for no, they should not. Head down to the comments and sound off for me. Now, we will do a full Mike Zimmer replacement list. This was our most recent one, and it is due for some changes. I had Nathaniel Hackett, Kellen Moore, Doug Peterson, Eric Bieniemy, and Brian Daboll all high on that list. We'll start from scratch if, and I think when, the Vikings and Mike Zimmer elect to part ways. I don't see how they bring him back after the way the past 2 years have gone, even if it's not all the head coach's fault. But remember, they were allegedly close to dumping Zimmer when they did make that playoff run a couple years ago. Now, if you want to see that full Mike Zimmer replacements list, make sure you're subscribed, but also like the video. This way we can show the bosses, hey, this is something you guys want. This should be a priority over maybe other teams, other organizations that we cover here at Chat Sports. So show some support and like the video right now. As the Vikings move into the offseason, the Deshaun Watson trade rumors will begin to return. Now, there have been a couple speculative articles out there from various blogs and websites I've seen. The Watson stuff it grew quiet in between the trade deadline and the end season, which I think makes perfect sense, right? He is still facing multiple allegations and investigations of sexual misconduct and assault that have not yet been resolved. I will say this, though, from a talent-only perspective, you kind of got to call, right, if you think it gets cleared. Kirk Cousins is not the long-term answer in Minnesota. We all know that. He's not a bad quarterback, but he's not a good enough quarterback for where this team is. Watson only makes sense for Minnesota and any team if he is cleared. And if you think he did it, you can't trade for him. You just can't do it. That'd be a nightmare scenario. The Vikings, by the way, from an on-field and trade, ignoring the on-field stuff standpoint, they don't have the best assets either. They don't. Kirk Cousins, I don't think, moves the needle that much for a team like Houston. Maybe in a three-way trade, but if you're doing a three-way trade, wouldn't the other team just want to take Deshaun in that scenario? The first-round draft capital, not going to be that high for Minnesota compared to other teams out there. So, throw in the no-trade clause for Deshaun. It does make things a bit dicey, but talent-wise, this is a top 10, top 5, top whatever NFL quarterback who has shown his ceiling is higher than what you have currently on your roster. Again, if you're doing it right as an organization, in the event he's cleared, he may or may not be cleared. I want to emphasize that part again. You owe it to your team to say, hey, maybe we should explore the Deshaun Watson trade. So what would you guys do? Would you go trade for Deshaun Watson? Type in T for trade for him or P for pass. You don't want to bring him in right now to the organization. As the offseason really gets underway, we're going to keep you guys covered on everything going on around Minnesota. Rumors, free agency, draft, trade, you name it. This is going to be your one-stop shop for everything on the Vikings. So if you haven't already, subscribe right now.